The crisp mountain air was thick with a sharp scent of pine, fresh, clean, and utterly different from the stale, suffocating smell that seemed to cling to the suburbs like a warning. It was the kind of air that should have brought peace, that should have filled our lungs with clarity. But for Christine, it seemed only to aggravate her sinuses. She tossed and turned in the passenger seat, visibly irritated, as if the very idea of this retreat was a punishment rather than a possibility. "This weekend will help us reconnect," she had said earlier, her voice laced with forced optimism. But her eyes betrayed the truth, glassy, distant, and vaguely annoyed, as though she were allergic to more than just the forest. I told myself to ignore it. Maybe this trip was a gesture, a final attempt to breathe life into something long dead. Maybe it was foolish to hope, but I held on to it anyway. As I unloaded the luggage from the car, my body moved like it was carrying more than just bags. There was weight inside me, an ache that had nothing to do with muscle or bone. We had been drifting for months, maybe longer. A silent erosion. Our conversations had become transactional, our touches mechanical. When she was physically present, her spirit seemed miles away, unreachable. I tried. God knows I had, but trying to connect with her was like trying to hold on to a shadow. The cabin was modest but charming, nestled among towering redwoods that reached into the sky like ancient sentinels. A woman greeted us at the front desk. Brenda, her name tag read. She had kind eyes and a practiced warmth that felt genuine. "Welcome. You're going to love it here," she said as she handed over a clipboard and a small packet. For the first time in weeks, I felt something flicker inside me. Oh, faint, unfamiliar but real. "It's beautiful here," I replied, and I meant it. Brenda smiled knowingly and pointed me to a small wooden table where I could fill out the check-in form. Christine mumbled something about needing the bathroom and disappeared down the hallway, the quiet thud of her boots on the old wood echoing faintly behind her. I sat down, clicking open a pen, and began to fill out the usual fields: name, address, emergency contact. My handwriting slowed as I approached the final section. My eyes caught a name listed under on-site medical consultant, and the pen froze in my hand. Dylan. It shouldn't have meant anything. Common name, right? But my heart lurched violently in my chest. Dylan. I'd heard it before. Spoken in passing, whispered under her breath during late-night phone calls she claimed were with coworkers. I remembered the way she said it, soft and cautious, always just out of earshot. The secrecy around her phone, the sudden overtime hours, the way her body turned away from me at night, like she couldn't stand the feel of my skin. It all came crashing into place. Christine returned moments later, wiping her hands on her coat, her expression unreadable. I was still staring at the form, frozen in that moment. "Everything okay?" she asked, a note of concern, or was it guilt, in her voice. I didn't speak. I simply handed her the form, covering the name with my finger. She took it, glanced down, and then I saw it. The shift in her eyes. The way the blood drained from her face. Her hand trembled, just slightly, as if the weight of the truth had finally caught up to her. "The computer," I whispered, hoarse. "How could you?" "It's not what you think," she stammered, voice cracking under the weight of exposure. But the lie didn't even finish forming before collapsing in on itself. Her mask had slipped. This is what reconnection means to you. A mountain hideaway with your lover in the background. And me none the wiser? You thought I wouldn't see it. You thought you could play this game forever. My voice rose, sharper with each word. Tears welled in her eyes, but they were empty, like props in a play she no longer had the energy to perform. "I'm sorry," she said, barely above a whisper. "Sorry." I spat the word like poison. "I gave you everything. My time, my trust, my life. And you." I choked back the roar that threatened to break free. "You threw it all away for a man you barely know." My hands clenched the edge of the table. Brenda glanced over from the counter, her face tense with concern. The air in the room had shifted. Thick now, electric, about to explode. I stood, my voice suddenly cold and deadly calm. "Let's not make a scene. Pack your things. Leave. You don't belong here." You don't belong with me. Panic widened Christine's eyes. Wait, you can't just. I can. And I am. My voice was final, like the slamming of a judge's gavel. I took the cabin key off the table, turned to Brenda and said, I'll need an Uber. She won't be staying. Christine faltered, her words caught in her throat. She looked like she wanted to speak, maybe to explain, maybe to beg, but I was done listening. She gathered her things, hurried and clumsy, and disappeared into the fading light outside. I followed at a distance, my chest burning with a twisted blend of fury and relief. The Uber pulled up. I tossed her suitcase into the trunk without a glance. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't need to. Our goodbye had been years in the making. She got in and didn't look back. I watched her go. There was no dramatic outburst. No grand gesture. Just silence. And in that silence, I felt something I hadn't in a long time, peace. Back inside, Brenda met me with a soft look and handed me the key again, this time only for me. Let me know if you'd like breakfast, she said gently. That would be great, I replied, feeling the anger melt away, replaced by something quieter and steadier, clarity. The weekend passed in unexpected calm. I walked alone through the woods, breathing in the pine air that no longer smelled like emptiness. I met strangers, friendly, quirky, kind people who laughed easily and spoke with open hearts. It wasn't the escape I had planned, but it was the escape I needed. By Sunday evening, as I drove back down the winding mountain road toward home, I felt no sadness, no longing, just a quiet understanding. Something had ended and something else, something better, was beginning. As I pulled into the driveway of my house, untouched and honest, I realized the truth I had been avoiding for far too long. I had lost Christine long ago. But I had finally found myself. It wasn't easy, but it was mine. And I would be okay.